Assassin's Creed Valhalla. I cannot wait to play this game. Me as an assassin again.
Yeah, well, you don't actually play as an assassin.
But it's an Assassin's Creed game. You play as a Viking. It's fine. I'll just well, you know what? I can't wait to play with the weapons and the cosmetics, the outfits. All the best stuff, the cosmetics that you actually have to buy. Huh? Pay? Like pay? When they start doing that? Yeah, that's Ubisoft, yeah. Helix credits. Helix? Is that potion? Harry Potter? Yeah. But hey, don't worry. But after like 80 hours at least, you know, you probably wouldn't have completed everything. Definitely not. It's a lot of hours. Anyways, I'm not letting you put me off this game. Alright? Time to play. Where's the fucking disc? Oh, the disc? Oh yeah, you have to pay extra for that. You bought the case. That's Ubisoft. Helix credits. Fuck! Guys, Love Gaming Neutro here, and welcome to another games review. Assassin's Creed Valhalla. I'm excited to do this review as this was one of the first games I played when I purchased my PlayStation 5, and I hope you enjoyed the Ghost of Tsushima review, my first ever game review, and this will be my second. All I'll say is before I start this review is when I purchased my PlayStation 5, I didn't play much on my PlayStation 4, so I didn't play for a very long time. I wasn't really into gaming near the end of the PlayStation 4. I think I played Spider-Man and I played God of War, but those were the only two games I really played, and The Last of Us. So when I played Assassin's Creed Valhalla, you're probably going to wonder how the hell I racked up over 100 hours of that game. So when I first played the game, I was like, wow, the graphics, the open world. I haven't played an Assassin's Creed since the Ezio collection, and the first ones and Ezio were amazing. I didn't play Syndicate, I didn't play Black Flag, and I can't even remember what the other ones were, but I never played them. So when I first played it, I thought, wow, this is the best game I've ever played. The PlayStation 5 is amazing, the load screens, all of this. Obviously now that I played Odyssey afterwards, and then I played obviously Ghost of Tsushima, and as soon as I played Ghost of Tsushima, it really turned my head on what Assassin's Creed Valhalla really is. Anyways, for more game reviews, walkthroughs and live streams, be sure to like and subscribe on this video and channel. But let's get into it. So what is Assassin's Creed Valhalla? There'll be no spoilers here, but it's an open world third person RPG game. So you kind of determine the character that you play. You play as a Viking. So one thing, you do not play as an assassin. Let's just get that straight in a game that's called Assassin's Creed. You play as Eivor. You can choose male or female. Again, I've not been used to that. I was like, oh wow, you can choose male or female. Okay. Obviously, I chose male because I'm a male and I want to play as a male. You're called a Drenga, as the Vikings used to say, right? But you're a Norse warrior. The story. It's a very complex story. It's about fate, myths, reality, the reality you're living in. It's very, very complex. It's not like the old Assassin's Creeds where they were a bit more, shall I say, realistic. There's a lot of mythology and weird things that goes on in the games. I'm not sure if that is the case for the other ones. I know, obviously, Odyssey, there was a much more magical sort of stuff. You start off in Norway. You decide that you want to leave Norway. You want to set up in England. So you go to England. You were then joined by your brother, or he's not your blood brother, but he's like your brother, Sigurd. So you set up in England, and you set up your settlement, and you have essentially your base, and it's called Ravenscroft. Ravenscroft is beautiful. You have your settlements, you have your buildings, you can gather animals and deliver them to each of the different huts. You can upgrade your weapons, you can upgrade your ship. And it is, I love the way Ravenscroft is your base, and you build up each part of your settlement to the next level, and you eventually try to get up to level 5 or 6, and you have to gather supplies. Your main aim is to build up your settlement. from raids. You can do raids where you go to on the river and you kind of raid different villages and you gather supplies. At first it was very, very enjoyable, but again, when you keep doing it and keep doing it and keep doing it, it can get very, very repetitive. But in order to build up your settlement, you need to gather as much supplies as possible, and it can feel very, very grindy. You need to create alliances with different people in the game throughout England. So that's basically the main aim. You need to go across England, you need to help out these other characters, and you need to build a good relationship with them, so when it comes down to it, they are there to help you and they will fight for you. So they each have their own problems, their own story, but as you go on in the story, the main storyline does get very interesting. But the problem is, when one part of the story is developing, all of a sudden it will take a massive U-turn and you have to go to another part of England, create an alliance, and you're like, oh, for fuck's sake, I don't give a shit about these people. I just want to know what happens. And it gets very, very flipping grindy. That's the only problem with this game. I say it's the only problem, there's many other problems. But anyway, as you progress, you meet two other assassins, and they're called the Hidden Ones, and they're Basim and Hytham. And they're basically the only assassins in the game, which is very, very frustrating because, again, I don't know what the last few games were like. And I was just very surprised how, wow, there's nothing to do with assassins in this game. And the aim for Eivor, you are motivated by making a name for yourself. Basically, Valhalla is where the Norse warrior, if they die a warrior's death, they will be granted passage to Valhalla, which is basically Odin's hall. And when you die, you go there and you live with Odin and you live eternally, shall I say. So that's the main aim of the game. But you're more motivated by creating a name for yourself, because when you were a kid and at the start of the game, it shows you how your parents died. And your father did not die a warrior's death. He sacrificed himself. It was very, very against the Norse mentality, shall I say. So when he dies, your name is basically tarnished because your father is the guy who sacrificed himself and did not get passage to Valhalla. I love story-driven games. I was like, yeah, this is amazing, this is great. After 10-20 hours, I'm doing the same thing. I'm gathering up supplies, I'm raiding, I'm creating alliances, I'm trying to look for the chests. I want to try and complete everything on the map, which is near impossible because it's just so grindy. It's just so exhausting. And after about 20-30 hours, I was just more like, oh, I've got to do this. When is the story ending? I want to know what happens. What do I have to do? And then now I'm starting to get a bit more frustrated, shall I say, because I want to complete the game, but there's just so much content and I'm grinding and I'm playing. And it's the only game I'm playing on the PlayStation 5 at this point when I first bought it, because you can't focus on any other game. It is very interesting to know who you are, how you linked with the Norse gods. So in the game, you actually visit Asgard. You can go to Asgard. You can play out the story in Asgard. At first, I was like, what is this going on about? Why are we playing now as, Odin? We're playing as Harvey. And the character models mimic some of the gods. Now, I won't spoil anything, but it's heavily connected to the Norse gods, which I only realized at near the end of the game. But Asgard is amazing. The scenery is amazing. I was like, wow, you've got the bridge. You meet Thor. You can see his hammer. You can eventually use Thor's hammer in the game. So I didn't go to Asgard until the end of the game, or as end as possible, because I felt like I was starting up a new story. And I was like, no, I just want to finish this story before I go on to that one. Near the end of the game, it's feeling bloated. I'm like grindy. I'm like, oh, no, this is amazing. I'm still trying to convince myself that I love the game, because I used to love the Assassin's Creed games, and looking at other reviews online, and that's what kind of most people kind of said, was it felt bloated and it dragged on and it's not like the old Assassin's Creed games. You do get choices in the story, but they don't really do anything. So you get a choice of when there's a cutscene and you choose what answer you want to do. It doesn't really go anywhere. I feel like it doesn't make a difference. Unlike Odyssey, actually, it felt like it made a difference to the parts of the story. You could actually choose, for instance, who to kill, what fate to certain people, civilians, if you had to kill, who did you have to kill. There were actually consequences. With this, it felt like there was just different answers just for the sake of different answers. Oh yeah, you get the choice of what answer you want to choose. But it didn't actually go anywhere. Once I played Odyssey, I realised that. It's a Ubisoft game, so lately they've become known for just putting in as much freaking content as possible. So in terms of the story and the side missions, some of the side missions are pretty pointless. In games, I want to complete everything as much as possible to 100%, but with how big the game was, you go to these little markers and you'll have like the chests, and you have to find them. I don't know how to get in the building. It's getting frustrating. I'm like, I can't get in this freaking building. I don't know how. And all it is frustrating me, and I'm like, I don't care, I'm not going to do it. I'm not going to end up playing a game that I don't want to, and I feel like I'm forced to do that. So that's the story, guys. In the end, it was a satisfying story, but I felt like for the amount of hours I put in, I was like, okay, cool. So there's no definitive ending because of the DLCs and because you can carry on improving your settlement. Let's move over to the gameplay and controls. Coming off the back of the PS5, the controls don't utilize the PS5 haptic feedback, the buttons. It was just normal buttons, which, you know, I was quite surprised at after I played like Ghost of Tsushima, everything like that. The game was definitely rushed, 100%, because there was a shitload of glitches as well, which I'm going to come to. So the controls are all right. The fighting was great. I thought it was good. It felt a bit repetitive at times. And what I didn't like about it was the level system. I didn't like the level system. It was so fucking annoying because, first of all, you got Ghost of Tsushima where you fight these enemies and there's no level up system. You kill them and it feels very real. With this, you've got a little bar over their head and you're like, oh, I have to wait till I hit them, and you're using an axe and a sword and all these things. I just didn't like the way it was. It didn't feel realistic in terms of like Ghost of Tsushima, where that felt like the old Assassin's Creed games. It felt so real and you felt so like an assassin or a swordsman. With this, it's just like you're hitting them, you're carrying on hitting them, and then they die. Bit fucking annoying. One of the most frustrating things, the stealth was broken in this game. The stealth was broken. Bottom line is, you get seen so easily in this game. Whether I'm really shit, I don't know. But again, a lot of people said the stealth is broken. You'll be in the bushes or you'll be hiding. All of a sudden, within half a second, they've seen you. And they're all onto you. And it's so frustrating because this is supposed to be an Assassin's Creed game. You don't utilize any of the old mechanics that they used to use. Like, you know, where the priests are going through the building and then you go through and you blend. There is blending in this game, but it's pointless. Because as soon as you come out of the blending, you get caught. Like, it's pretty pointless, the blending. It's very unnecessary. It doesn't feel like the old Assassin's Creed games with Ezio, Altair. Those were incredible. There was no groundbreaking bugs that I had to reset the game or anything like that. But there was a shitload of bugs. And it was so annoying. Like, the scenery was amazing, which I'll come to in the graphics section. But the bugs were annoying. One point in the game, there was an update. And the horseback sound went. And I was like, what's going on? Let me reset the game. Basically, all of a sudden, them fixing some things in the game, Ubisoft, it breaks other things. So for the majority of my playthrough, when I was riding my horse or any animal, there was no sound effects to the galloping. And it was so frustrating because the sounds were amazing. And I'm playing the majority of the game and I'm like, this is so annoying. How have you just taken this away from me? And it just felt, it didn't feel realistic. It just took away the immersion, shall I say, that I was in with this game. And it was fucking frustrating. Not till the end of the game, they eventually fixed it like 2 months later. So you probably won't have that problem now, for sure. But whether there's other bugs, I'm not sure. There was other bugs. Cosmetics on the ships kept resetting. Some of my weapons disappeared that I earned. And I will never ever buy my fucking weapons and buy extra on this fucking Helix credit shit, which I'll come to. Weapons were very cool. There were some really cool weapons. At the end of the game, once you beat all of the order, you can then wield and find Thor's hammer, which is pretty amazing. I played all the DLCs with the hammer because I'm a big fucking fan of Thor. So Munir was wicked, where it has like an electric fucking effect when you beat these enemies. So in that aspect, it was really cool. I did like the way you had different cosmetics and you could change the way you look. But again, to get the best weapons, I was looking. You have the fucking Helix store, where all they do, Ubisoft, is promote buying extra. Like, why would I, like, someone bought me this game. I didn't buy this game. Luckily, I didn't spend the money. But why would you spend 50, 60 quid at the time for an Assassin's Creed game? And then you want to spend another 40, 50, 60, 70, wherever, how much it is, to have different cosmetics and weapons and suits and different, like, it's so frustrating. I was like, fuck that, like, that looks cool, but I'm not going to spend any more money. Like, I've bought the game. I've got the game. Why the fuck am I going to do that? Call me old school. I don't play Fortnite and all that shit. Well, I say all that shit is very popular, but a free to play, but it's not free to play because they make so much money from add-ons. I just don't see the justification. I'd rather buy a game and I fucking buy it. I've got the game. I'm going to play the game. Give me all the stuff with it, because that's how it fucking should be. That's how I look at it. So when I bought the game, I was like, there's no way I'm buying anything else in this game. Although I want that weapon, I would love that cosmetic. But fuck it, I'm not going to buy it. I'll just try and grind it out and see what happens. So apart from that, yeah, that was good. You know, another thing is the main menu of Ubisoft is like basically a promotion to buying shit. Like, who has that in the main menu of a game? But anyways, that's the gameplay and controls. Like, let's move over to the graphics. So the graphics for me, they were stunning. They were stunning. Some of the scenery, the places, the snow in Norway, it was incredible. Again, as I kept playing, it was very repetitive. England was very fucking boring. It's boring anyway, but as you're galloping, it's just open space, trees, bushes. It's all the same. And after 20, 30 hours, I don't know how I did 100 hours. That's probably with all the DLCs. So after a certain amount of time, I'm like, yeah, just gallop to this point. Yeah, get to this point. It then becomes a little bit less immersive in the game. Again, Ghost of Tsushima, I felt like it was a lot smaller. It was so much more. I appreciated being on my horseback with this game. Asgard was incredible. I loved it. I loved Asgard. It was so cool. I think that was my favourite part of the game because, again, I'm a massive fan of Norse mythology, Thor, Odin, all of that. So when I was in Asgard, I loved it the most. I just sort of imagine this is probably how it was, hearing the civilians talk in their language, the graphics, the bridge. It was amazing. It was incredible. So I'm just very upset that it didn't feel like an Assassin's Creed game. It was bloated. There was unnecessary content. The story dragged on. The RPG sort of feel where, you know, a level up system. You didn't feel like you were controlling the outcome of any situation. It was just there to feel like you was. Eivor was a wicked character. I'm not going to lie. He was one of my favourite characters. The way they developed him, I don't know how the female version was, but in terms of the male Eivor, he's a very calm, enthusiastic, level-headed person. I loved his character. I feel like they nailed. I was bought into Eivor. The way he speaks, it was amazing. I loved him as a character. I didn't think he was rash. I didn't think he was big-headed. He very thought about his decisions. And he was very, very, a lot of people looked up to him. And I loved him as a character. Loved him. Wrath of the Druids, and we had the Siege of Paris DLCs. Wrath of the Druids was Ireland. It just felt like England. It was repetitive. Story was okay. I did it, completed it, and was like, wow, I just spent more money. Because I felt like I was buying another story. So that's the only thing I bought was the DLCs. Siege of Paris was a lot better. I felt like you were more of an assassin. When you had to assassinate a target, you had to find your way inside. You had to gather information, and then you could quietly sneak in, and you could create an assassin's assassination. And that was amazing. It felt like the old Assassin's Creed games, and I feel like that's where they went with it. The Siege of Paris, I really did actually enjoy a lot more, and the characters were all good. I did love the characters in Siege of Paris. After playing Ghost of Tsushima and all of the other games and realizing what Assassin's Creed has become, my score is a 6 out of 10. Now, I know that might seem a lot low for 100 hours, but before I played Ghost of Tsushima, I would have said probably a 7 or an 8. But after playing Odyssey, where the scenery was beautiful, I just feel like this game, looking back, I couldn't think about going back to that game. Because I know they're going to do some new updates with old characters coming in. Maybe I'll play it, I don't know. But I just don't want to play that game anymore. It's very, very... Again, it's bloated and there's not much to do, but I did love it. But after playing Ghost of Tsushima, I just feel like that it was such a better game. That's why I'm giving it a 6 out of 10. I'd love to hear your thoughts on what you think of my score and what you think it was. But it was one of those. It's just, I love the franchise. If this was a separate franchise, I'll probably be giving it a lot lower, maybe. It's because it's an Assassin's Creed game that I loved. When I first played the first one, it was incredible. I thought, this is revolutionary. This is amazing. This is open world. You can, do everything. It's just amazing. But that is my score, and I would love to hear what you guys think of that verdict. What do you give it? What do you give it? Have you played the game? Will you play the game after listening to a few reviews? Let me know in the comments below. But I will see you in the next review. See you soon.